Hello everyone, it's Commander Trium, back once again from yet another buggy start to our nightly Elite Dangerous episode. That's 3 for 3. We had to do reboots in order to get the game going. That takes time, and about half an hour after tinkering and debugging, we finally are in the game. We're in the aerial system tonight at Andrade Legacy. We were engaging Sargoids. I don't know if that is still an option. Let's just find out by going to our Galactic News Network. Galnet, GNN. The Galaxy's news all in one place. And our Gatha still has a massive Thargoid presence to deal with. That's good news. Well, for those of us hunting them. Let's see here. The head of personnel at Rackham Capital Investments has died in an accident, becoming a second senior level employee who died in recent weeks. Journalist Brianna Bianco commented in the Federal Times. Senior executive Darren O'Shea was killed when his personal limousine malfunctioned and crashed. The incident has not been ruled as suspicious. O'Shea's position was filled within hours by a supporter of Talia Gavaris. However, Gavaris herself inherited the CFO role in a similar fashion following her predecessor's recent death. The two close allies again. The authorities, sorry. The two close allies gone. CEO Zachary Rackham must feel under threat. His corporate power struggle increasingly resembles two pirate captains fighting to become the overall leader. The authorities have again declined to begin formal investigations into Gavaris and Rackham, claiming a lack of evidence. How many more casualties must occur before this act is taken seriously? Writes Bianco, sorry. Some more backstory there. Not specifically interesting, but children of Tothos is becoming worrisome. We are in the domain of Arista Levigny Duval, Emperor. Of the Ekanari Empire. Of course, that is not to say that there are survivors of the indigenous Akanari running the empire. They are extinct. But the humans, rather, as you all are well aware. What is this DHP1? DHP11.
Call unsuccessful.
That's interesting. Aegis is here. Launch. See if we can avoid having interceptors up here.
Landing restraints retracted. You are clear for departure.
Landing gear retracted.
Passing beneath the arm to the habitat ring of the station. Should consider going and finishing off what we need to clear our way for engineer access. Let's
You are
see
now
here.
clear of the station. Thank you, Commander, and have a splendid journey.
Charging.
Hmm. That's interesting.
Frameshift drive charging.
Computer, prepare for battle stations. Computer battle stations. Pilots, Federation versus the Thargoids. Let's see here. Imperial Navy is present.
Prepping fighter bay. Stand by. All systems are go. Awaiting orders.
This system is crawling with Thargoids. If we don't push them back, we'll be overrun. Think you can handle it?
to evade fire. Fighter is down, Commander.
Fighter assembly initiated.
Where the hell did the decontamination limpet go? Collector. Repair. Oh, for fuck's sakes. It's under D. Oh.
Taking damage. Taking damage. Caustic substance neutralized. Programming limpet drone. Limpet successful. Frame shift anomaly detected.
Prepping fighter bay. Stand by. Fighter deployed. I'm here if you need me.
Enemy on the team. Let's kill some Zargoids.
Taking damage.
Numerous enemies to choose from, Commander. Let's make our shots count. I need support. Taking damage. I'm gonna lose the ship if I sustain any more damage, Commander. Fighter is down, Commander.
Fighter assembly initiated. Taking damage. Taking damage. Caustic substance neutralized. Limit successful.
captors coming in hot. Watch yourself, Commander.
Shift anomaly detected. scope deployed. Cargo scope retracted.
That's what the Ambrosia looks like after a battle, coming in for dock. NFC entered. There's the bridge.
Docking request denied. Docking request granted. Landing gear deployed. Docking successful. Engines disengaged.
Mm-hmm. Well, clearly this is an Imperial carrier. Does not seem to have a governing council. if defense controls this one. They have no missions for us.
Call unsuccessful.
Discord here. I thought I had Discord running. Apparently I don't. Excuse me, we are loading it now, of course. Tick-tock. This is what I'm dealing with for speed on this frickin' old hard drive I've got running here. My USB drives are faster, for Christ's sake. Move it! Dearest God. Well, it says he's playing, but he's not as system anymore for some stupid reason. He doesn't actually play the game. It seems like he just sort of tinkers with it every once in a while. He doesn't focus when he's playing it. So, we will have to try him yet again later. I'll have one more go in the conflict zone. This is a different conflict zone, so maybe there won't be quite as many interceptors.
Ship released. Engines engaged. Landing gear retracted.
You know, shard cannons sure don't seem to carry very much ammunition. say how many there are. Well, I guess we'll just have to remember to refill them every so often.
Frameshift drive charging.
No. In the name of God, why? So this should be the new conflict zone. I believe it is. must be some sort of ammonia planet, I'm guessing. Ergo the interest. Certainly looks that way.
Understood. Booting up telepresence for fighter control. SLF is online. Standing by.
Frameshift anomaly detected.
Naturally.
This system is crawling with Thargoids. If we don't push them back, we'll be overrun. Think you can handle it?
Target destroyed.
Numerous enemies to choose from, Commander. Let's make our shots count.
Target destroyed.
Good to have you on the team. Let's kill some Thargoids.
Taking damage. Target destroyed. Warning, caustic damage detected. Taking damage. Taking damage. Caustic substance neutralized. Weapons rearmed. Frameshift anomaly detected. Contamination mapping centers.
Numerous enemies to choose from, Commander. Let's make our shots count.
Target destroyed.
fighters coming in hot. Watch yourself, Commander.
Energy surge detected.
I need support. Taking damage. Fighter is gone, Commander. Commencing fighter deployment. Fighter deployed. I'm here if you need me. Multiple hostile ships in this sector, Commander. Let's not throw them all on us at once.
Well, this is what happens when you try to take on 3 interceptors on your own. But I did try to put up a bit of a resistance with respect to repairs and whatnot. They shot the hell out of my repair assemblies and limpets, and I couldn't do sweet bugger all. And so we died. Plus, I've never had an interceptor chase me down like that. We'll buy the reinsured ship. We now need to spend some time earning money. That was going to be my last fabled attempt anyway. Don't know if I lose everything, but let's see what I lost here. What do we lose? All combat bond vouchers were lost, so we lose 170,000 of those. That locks out trying to get the 1 million combat bonds from rather for the engineer wants them. I don't know which one that is, but there is one here that needs them in order to unlock them. Ten units of painite gives you access to Celine Jean. Well, that's something. Decker wants the 1 million in combat bonds. He's good for FSD interdictors and frame shift drives. But we already have class 5 frame shift drives, so what he offers I don't know. And Heratani. Kamitra cigars. We do get to save our combat rank at 91% of expert. So I think we're up to master, then dangerous, I'm not sure. Colonia. Zachary and Nemo is... not sure where the hell he is. Enhanced hull reinforcements and armor. That could also be useful since we don't have enough of that. So we need painite and Kamitra cigars. The painite shouldn't be much of a problem. Well, he did move his ship, but...
Call unsuccessful.
Okie dokie. Looks like we're going on a great asteroid hunt. Mr. Real Slow. Well, we may as well check it out anyway. See if he's interested in chatting.
disconnected.
I guess we're headed back to Federation space. While we're here, we should probably do a mission or something for, what's her name? For the lady Aisling Duval. And I believe we have some equipment here which we will find useful. And then we will be off.
Romeo 0. We are pleased to have you at this Imperial facility, Commander. Approval is granted. Please head directly to Docking Bay 40. We have engaged auto-docking protocols.
Scan detected.
Meters from touchdown.
Deployed.
Docking complete. We are light when ready. The Imperial Flight Operations Bureau welcomes you to the
The arraying system. 56 light years. Transfer to the station. 14 minutes, eh? No, I think we'll be out of here inside of 14 minutes. However, we will leave our other missiles here. the orang system.
What the fuck are you doing?
What the fuck are you doing?
Pleasuring myself
Unsuccessful.
What
with
the
a banana
hell?
even.
What the fuck is going on here? Okay, now all my joysticks have just failed.
What'd you do?
I don't fucking know. There we go. Oh, there we are. Got it working again. So, what have you been up to tonight? I've been messaging you and you haven't been responding.
Running around doing this, doing that.
And,
Been on my computer off and on.
yeah, I mean, I saw you tinkering with,
Landing gear retracted.
tinkering with Aline, then going away for a while, and then coming back again, and I never seemed to get you when you were around. So I went and fought the Thargoids and lost a ship doing so. So now I absolutely have no choice. I have to go to find some void opals or something. You wouldn't know where there are any hanging out, do you?
In the local void opal hotspot.
Have a good trip, Commander.
Yeah, well, looking for something a little bit more specific.
In an icy planetary ring.
Frameshift drive charged.
There we go. A lot more specific than that.
In the Milky Way.
That's not more specific. And I got a my bid in for an apartment. Tis the second one I've attempted, and this time I'm keeping my big mouth shut so that whatever happens is going to be the result of my landlord's comments and not my own.
Well, it sounds like a better plan.
I found out there was an even better plan than that. I could just ask them straight up for a reference letter. And then I know what they're going to say. More than that, I could also edit it in Adobe or something and just email it to them. But,
Unless they pull a dick move and they handwrite it.
well, they would begin by handwriting it, but I could scan it in and then make edits, and then print it off on a high-resolution printer. They would never know the difference. We have one at work, high-resolution color printer. So, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. Get yourself in a whole big legal trouble over nothing.
I don't think I'd be in much trouble about it. What are they going to do? Charge me with fraud? I didn't defraud them. I simply made an edit to a page.
Forgery is illegal.
Yeah, but I didn't forge anything. To forge something.
If you alter something, it's a form of forgery, form of plagiarism.
Well, I think it's probably fraud, but criminal fraud would be a tough conviction to get, I think, on first offense and something like that.
Except you already got a criminal record.
Yep, but it's not related to financial. They classify them here. There's a drug charge is kind of separate from everything else. Like, it's not as if I murdered someone. You're not treated the same way. Nor if I did murder someone would my murder charge be in any way really impacted by my history with drug possession. If it was a case of first-degree cold-blooded murder, I would still go to jail for forever, pretty much. Especially if I'm ruled a dangerous offender. If in Canada you're ruled a dangerous offender, they can keep you locked up forever. You'll never get out. You need a minister's certificate to exempt you, and no minister... There isn't a minister here that would do that. Except in the most extreme cases where there was expert testimony brought before the minister. Or where there's a case where DNA evidence exonerates some of the crime, as happened in the Milgard case in Nova Scotia or something like that. But unless there's something like that going on, you have no chance of getting a minister's exemption. We may not execute our criminals, but we do lock them up forever, and it ends up being cheaper. They have fewer legal appeals they can turn to because you're not taking their life, right? In the United States, killing someone justifiably in the United States with full legal review takes a lot of money.
Most states have done away with the death.
Yeah, it's too damn expensive because for it to be constitutionally correct, you have to spend a stupidly large.
You have to have damning evidence that basically.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah, you have to basically have them dead to rights, and even then, there's cases in the United States where people have been executed that were later found out to be innocent, but which is not what you want.
Life, shit happens. Life's not fair.
No, but even when they're completely guilty, there was one woman on a TED Talk I was watching her, the jurors actually suffer as well, because when you're asked as a juror to kill someone, some people can deal with it, and then there's others that cannot. And, you know, the lawyers are not psychiatrists, they don't really care. All they want to know is can you render a verdict that's, you know, within the law. And that's a very, you know, and people go in thinking, oh yeah, that's no problem. If you catch someone red-handed like that, then that's all there is to it. But when it comes right down to it, once they see the person, you know, resigned in the courtroom and whatnot, and they feel remorseful and all guilty, well, suddenly then it turns it around, and it's, even if you have them dead to rights, it's not necessarily a very easy process to go through just to put someone on death row. And this woman, she lived in Mississippi, and you should have just seen her. She was beside herself. You know, she's not soccer mom, but she's soccer grandmom. And she was happy with her family life and whatever. And after her experience and the way she felt about it, her granddaughter ended up being anti-death penalty. Her son is still pro. He wasn't very happy when his mother told his daughter that, I'm not in favor of this anymore. Because in Mississippi, it's sort of a cultural thing there. They kind of, it's expected of you that if you kill someone, it's eye for an eye kind of thing. But I don't think South Dakota's had a death penalty in one hell of a long time.
Been a few years, but there's a guy that was in the state pen. He killed a guard.
Yeah.
Basically admitted it. He already was serving a life sentence, and he basically said, "I want you to kill me." I did it. I killed him on cold blood just because I could. Now, basically, he admitted it. Said didn't even fight it. And was like,
well, that's a
federal lethal injection.
That's a federal crime, though, right? It's not under South Dakota law. It goes under U.S. law.
It was in a South Dakota prison.
Yeah, but it's still U.S. law, right? So.
No, it's South Dakota law. He killed.
Oh, is it? Okay.
The state of South Dakota tried him. The state of South Dakota put him to death.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't think you guys had the death penalty in your state, but.
We do. We're one of the few states that still has it. Basically, the only way the state of South Dakota puts anyone to death is the evidence is so damning that you pretty much admit to it.
So you need a full confession. You need like.
No, you don't need a full confession, but for the most part, we just don't go kill somebody if there's any possibility that they're innocent.
Most states don't, right? Like that's the thing. It's usually justifiable, but there are still consequences that go beyond just the act of putting someone down humanely. You can still end up with a cost to the jurors, a cost to the state, a cost to whatever. And even this guy, there's a requirement in U.S. law. I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% how it works where you are, but most states there's a requirement that you exhaust every legal appeal before you're allowed to put someone to death. So it has to go, every appeal, even in the case where the guy says, "Oh, doesn't put up a fight."
No.
You don't think so? So he did.
No.
His team didn't put up a thing before the Supreme Court or anything. I mean, they would have rejected it, but. Because in Canada, we just rule that as being a sign of mental illness. It's just crazy. Like, well, if you want to kill yourself or have the state kill you, then there's something wrong with you in the head. But you're right, not everyone can be cured.
Not everybody want to. Man was saying, this guy in particular was facing life in prison. He didn't want to fucking live life in prison.
That's true, and I can understand that, but it's not necessarily up to him either, right? Like, you're a ward of the state, and once you're a ward of the state, you can try to kill yourself in jail, and you can try to get into fights in jail and whatnot, and punish yourself, and that you'll certainly be accommodated to a degree in Canada. But the state is not going to spend money on you to specifically help you commit suicide.
Please stay on the current course.
And that's how it would be viewed here. Like, oh, well, if you want the death penalty, well, then it's too bad you committed your felony in Canada, because it's not going to work out for that way here. You don't get a say in the matter. You're just going to be in jail forever. You better get used to it. Odds are you won't be able to kill yourself, and you won't be able to, because you're going to be under watch. they'll just stick you. They don't put you in solitary anymore either, so it's even harder to get away with trying to kill yourself. We did away with solitary confinement last year in Canada, so it was ruled unconstitutional, cruel and inhumane.
I consider it blessing, peace and quiet.
Yeah, a lot of people do adapt to it, but human beings are considered social animals, and even I, an introvert, if I'm forced to be confronted with human beings, I can usually cope with that more than the type of person who can't cope with being locked into a room. There was a case in Canada back in 2016 where there was a few, they locked someone in solitary, and something happened where they ended up managing somehow to do harm to themselves, and the guards were being really, really nasty to them, and they ended up dying in prison custody, and it caused quite a scandal because it was like, well, what the hell? Like, it doesn't happen very often in Canada, but it did, and as a result, there was an investigation of the practice of putting people in solitary, and there was a lot of expert testimony was dredged up saying, oh, this isn't very humane. So we did away with it. It doesn't really matter. You're still locked up. You still have to do as you're told, and you get time to yourself in your cell. If you want to be in your cell, you can go in there.
The difference between solitary confinement and being in a regular cell and gen pop, generally don't have any personal possessions while you're in solitary.
No, that's true. General population, you can have periods though where I think, especially for the longer term prisoners, where you're given a dedicated cell that you can go into. It's not like an apartment, but it's kind of like an apartment in that you're allowed personal items, and you can be in of certain types, and you can be in there for as long as you like by yourself if you want. And there no doubt are people who serve their sentence that way, but we're getting to the point anyway where they'll probably start reprogramming people at some point and just saying, well, there's something wrong with you in the head and you're not conforming to society's rules, so we'll just reprogram you so you do.
No, that sounds even better than the death penalty.
well,
shoot me.
It'll certainly be cheaper. Plus, I mean, you all you have to do is just plug them into the wall, and then it's a lot shorter term, and you can release them back into society again, where they're a productive member. The period of incarceration will be relatively short, but they won't.
Yeah, it's still.
And they won't hurt anyone anymore.
That's even worse than just fucking locking someone up in prison. Because you're taking away their personality, their identity. You're effectively erasing the person and turning them into a mindless slave.
Well, they're not mindless. I mean, it's just that they're being reconditioned.
You are changing them
Yeah,
into molding them into what you want.
That's what
you're not. They don't have free will anymore because you've chosen their will. You've made.
Well, we do that. We do that now anyway. I mean, it's called rehabilitation for a reason. So we put you in a room and we say, if you can't behave yourself, then we'll take all of your rights away and we'll put you in a room until you do learn to behave yourself. I mean, that's what that's all about. That's what the theory is behind our current system of crime and punishment. So how much more?
And it fails.
And it fails.
It fails spectacularly.
Right. So what's the difference between that and actually having a system that works, where your mind is forced to adapt according to the rules that are...
Because in order to do that, you basically violate a person's mind.
Yeah, they don't have any rights anymore. They forfeit those as soon as they...
Well, who gets to choose?
The courts.
Make that choice of who they become.
The courts. Oh, who they become?
Yeah.
No,
At the end of the day,
I'm sure there can be
oh,
parameters established where, you know, look, I mean, you're just not going to, anytime you choose to try to behave outside the rules in this fashion which you were offending before, you will experience either an urge not to, or, you know, some sort of program directive that will say, no, you're not doing it this way. You can even have it fade over time so that, you know, the pattern becomes learned and habitual the way it does in people, so that basically you're undergoing a neural pathway resequencing. And
yeah, you're changing the person's personality,
yeah,
their mind, their memories.
absolutely.
You're deleting the person.
No, you're modifying them.
No, you're deleting them. You can't
I don't see
erase
how.
a part. You cannot erase it, part of a person's personality in their mind without altering and changing it.
This conversation could change you or I. Any conversation, as you learn while you're growing up, your mind is changing all the time. Your son and daughter both have their personality altered almost on a daily basis.
Their personality and their minds are naturally growing though. What you're talking about is to forcefully and unnaturally modify somebody's existence.
Unnaturally. How does that work again? I've sped the process up using technology, but I don't know if I'm unnaturally doing anything. The brain is supposed to adapt according to set rules. So it does that.
Yeah, and you are still deleting a part of a person.
Yeah, but that's
to
not
achieve
that's
your
that's
goals.
not a negative. Your brain is designed to operate that way. That's where the neural pathway is.
You do realize what you're talking about is mental slavery, right? Psychological slavery.
No, I don't think I am. I don't think.
No, that's exactly what you're talking about.
No, I don't agree.
Because you are taking over a person's mind. You are forcing them to do your will.
But we want them to. Remember? Like they're committing murder.
Well, 150 years ago, people took the blacks and they forced them to do what they wanted, forced them to do their will.
On the basis of the color.
What's the difference?
Well, the difference is
it doesn't matter because at that point in time, they thought they're doing it for the betterment of society.
So you would rather have a society full of dysfunctional people that are committing murders and assaults, instead of a pacified and hurting people, instead of having a society where, you know, there's greater happiness, communal happiness experienced by all.
You're all worried about the greater good of everybody else. You're not thinking about the individual, the person anymore.
Oh no, I'm thinking about the individual. They'll be
happier. You're not.
They'll be happier too in the end.
Yeah, because you deleted their fucking conscience.
No, I didn't delete.
They're no longer sentient. They're a fucking robot.
Oh, come on.
They're a fucking machine.
That's a complete exaggeration.
No, it's not.
It's history.
You delete a part of somebody's mind, their memories. They are not the same person anymore.
I think you have to understand how the mind works and what it's there for.
I've got a grandma's got fucking dementia.
Okay.
She can't remember jack shit anymore. She's not the same person she was when I was a child.
No.
I know this from personal experience.
Yeah.
A part of the mind cannot be deleted or lost without changing a person who they fundamentally are.
But I mean, no elderly person is. My father certainly isn't the man he was 30 years ago.
My dad been losing his mind for years. He's not the same fucking person he was. My dad's barely 60 years old.
Do you want him to be? I mean, by the sounds of things, that didn't necessarily work out either. Now, I'm not.
I still don't like the son of a bitch, even though he's a nicer person than he was.
Well, sounds like
at the end of the day, my point is, a person cannot lose their memories and still be the same, because it's those experiences, those memories.
I understand that.
That's what builds a person's personality.
And I'm not talking about.
That's what dictates who a person is.
I'm not talking
about. You delete that stuff out of a person, they're no longer themselves.
Not once did I say delete anything. I said modify.
Well, you're gonna reprogram. Reprogram means something has to be deleted or overwritten in order to accomplish the goal of reprogramming.
In a computer, that's true, but in a neural network, it's not necessarily true. A neural network's different.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
How do you know? You got a biology degree?
As a matter of fact, I've been studying artificial intelligence for nearly 30 years.
Artificial intelligence is not the same thing as
There is a hell of a lot of biology, and by the way, I did work in a radiology department at a hospital that did neural scans all the fucking time for about 2 years, so I did get a background in the subject, yes.
So you're an expert now.
No, I'm not a radiologist, I'm not a neurosurgeon. I simply said I had experience with it. I understand what axons, dendrites are. I understand how they interact with one another. I know what a neural network is, what a neural pathway is, and I know how that could map into a synthetic model. After all, we are talking about a non-existent technology that I'm saying could be helpful in correctional services. So, before we get too far into it, we should probably realize that we're talking about a technology that's sort of science fiction right now anyway, and yeah, you would have to understand both the biology and what artificial intelligence is to some degree, probably to have the technology created in the first place. You certainly have to understand what a neural network is, how it maps onto the architecture of the human mind, and what impacts it was going to have. And I don't think it necessarily requires you deleting dendrites or synapses or any of that other stuff. It certainly doesn't require that you rewrite memory. You can keep all your damn memories, and you can still alter your personality. You could do that just as easily as making a decision in your head and starting to follow new habits as a matter of course. Someone who's undergoing correction, it is thought, it is hoped that they would do that on their own. But as we've seen over the past century or so, that isn't exactly how people want to work. They're resistant to change, and they don't want to necessarily alter their behavior. When they get out of prison, what ends up happening? Recidivism. 9 times out of 10. Why? Because human mind is difficult to change. They might have to go to jail several times in order to actually, decide that, look, this isn't working out. In nature, if we were going back to the Stone Age and living in caves, how did we operate? Well, we tried to keep what was working, and we tried to change in our heads when we realized something. We made changes in our minds when we realized that something we were doing wasn't working out for us. But that doesn't mean that you're losing parts of your personality or whatever. That's just how the human mind is supposed to function, and that's all I'm saying we should be concentrating on here, using that same level of functionality and speeding things up a little bit, so that the offender doesn't want to reoffend, for a happier and better society. That's what I meant.
Yeah. And you're still worried about making individuals comply to society.
Yes, absolutely. But that's
who the hell gives society the right to do that?
We do.
So you just popular vote.
No, it's not a democracy. It's called there are 3 arms of government in our society, one of which is justice. And in order to have a just society, you need to have a system of rules that everyone agrees.
And how much of our current governments are not corrupt?
Oh, many.
I mean,
many
when
of them
it comes
are,
down to it,
but are correct.
you got this fantasy in your head of a perfect fucking world where somebody is acting online. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing the way that we think it should be done. So we're gonna reprogram this individual so they think and they act and they speak and they believe the same things that we do.
I don't think you feel I'm really suffering from some sort of delusion or fantasy. I live in a very similar society to yours. So let's put that to bed right away. But on top of that, I mean, different levels of corruption exist at different levels of the correctional system. It's not monolithic. In the United States, you have commercial prisons that are being experimented with, or perhaps used now. I don't know what the story is, but it's said that there's a degree of corruption in there that's intolerably high. In Canada, we don't have that, but our prisons aren't necessarily run in the most efficient fashion, and there are people in the prison system, yes, who abuse the rules, who abuse their authority and power, and who cause more harm than good. Therefore, wouldn't it be handy to shorten the length of incarceration down considerably to not allow for as much corruption or for as much opportunity for that type of harm to exist? Consider it as a possibility is all I'm saying.
Why should I? Because at the end of the day, you're destroying a person's free will, forcing them to do something against their will, against their self-preservation.
We are anyway by incarcerating them. We take away their freedoms and they no longer have free will. Not
taking their mind away is better than just locking them in a jail cell.
In some ways, it might be. Well, not taking their mind away, but altering it in the context.
You're altering their mind. You're altering who they are.
I'm speeding up the process of correction. To that extent, I'm altering their minds. But I mean, people alter their minds all the time. It's not
you're altering somebody else's mind so that they comply with your viewpoint.
I could do that by conversing with them. This just again speeds up the process.
Well, now you're starting to actually say that you're just going to speed up the process. Well, why do we have to fucking sit and try to rewire somebody's mind? Instead of trying to overpower their fucking will, why not find a better way to convince them naturally?
Well,
make them choose to do it themselves.
If you can, go right ahead. But we've been working on that for well over a century. I would argue thousands of years, and it hasn't proven very, very successful.
So now we're just gonna fucking take a hammer and smack everybody upside the head and make them do what we want, regardless. So we're going to return back to slavery.
We used to do that. Well, it wasn't slavery, and prisoners aren't slaves, and neither is it.
No, but you're imprisoning a person by changing the way their mind works.
Are you scared of change? You're not scared of change, are you?
Dude, you remember, I've been in the legal system a hell of a lot deeper than you have.
Yeah. I accept that.
You don't know what it's like to be locked in a fucking hole long term.
No, I don't.
You're making an awful lot of guesses here at the end of the day.
It's a proposal, not a guess. It's not.
Well, you're trying to guess that sitting in a jail cell doesn't fix problems. No, but it makes a person realize they don't want to be there again.
It worked on you, but you're a minority. You're an exception.
No, it works on many people. But here's the other thing. Our current incarceration system also institutionalizes people that are in a jail cell or a prison cell long term, to the point they cannot function in society anymore. That's why a lot of them are repeat offenders, because they cannot function, they cannot cope, and they actually purposely offend so that they get thrown back into that structured environment that they're comfortable in, because of our current system has rewired them.
Sounds like PTSD to a degree.
Once your vessel has been authorized for entry,
doesn't it? Sounds like a trauma, what you're describing.
Well, maybe it is. But you see here where my viewpoint comes from? I've experienced it. I've been there. I've dealt with it.
I'm not sure that my system wouldn't work, or that, whether or not the ethics of it are sound and are completely sound. They're legally defensible, I'm pretty sure, but they're not necessarily the best way to proceed if what you're saying is true. No, I understand that. But I mean, I look at you as being sort of I saw people in prison as well. I wasn't there that long, but I didn't have to be. There were people there that were going to be there for a very long time. And it didn't matter that their current sentence was 2 years less a day. They're going to be there for the rest of their lives. Why? Not because of anything they've done wrong to date, but because of what they're going to do wrong next. Most of them.
So now you're a mind reader, and you can.
Oh no, I'm not talking about specific cases. I'm talking about in general.
So now we're going to start incarcerating people, and we're going to reprogram them before they have the chance to make a bad decision and do something wrong.
No, that would probably be extreme. I'm more concerned with the like if we're talking about so-called drug crimes, which I don't even accept are crimes in the first place. I mean, just because someone's in jail does not automatically mean they need to be reprogrammed or corrected. They could be in jail to prevent harm to the rest of society. For example, if someone becomes a threat to society for whatever reason, they may in fact be doing nothing outside of, you know, right or wrong in the context of the rules. That has to be determined by a court. But the rationale for keeping there for the length of their sentence could be more to do with, oh, well, you're a murderer, so we're concerned about everyone else's safety more than we are your own, right? Do you want to take someone like that necessarily and expose them to pathway resequencing when do you need to reintroduce them to society, or is it more important to punish them? Is it more important to let them come about the realization that they not only did something wrong, they probably know that right away. Most human beings cannot kill and then suddenly think everything's hunky dory. So, you know, what is the purpose of the jail in that context?
What happens if we go and reprogram somebody because they're a danger to society, and we fuck up and they become more of a fucking danger than they were before?
Well, then it's
who is going to accept the responsibility for that fucking bad idea?
Good question.
Who's going to pay the ultimate price for that decision?
Good question. I don't have an answer.
The poor son of a bitch who had his brain reprogrammed is the one who's going to ultimately pay.
Oh, he certainly will pay, but there may be others.
He's going to pay for society's decision to take away his mind.
He'll pay in the sense that life isn't fair, as you pointed out yourself earlier, but society may also hold the person who did the resequencing to account if they did so incompetently. It's not something that can be done automatically by just software. You need a human.
Now this reprogramming somebody's brain. Who's to say that it's going to be the right way to do it, a surefire way? Because we're finding out that there's a whole lot of people in this country that were wrongfully put on death row and executed for crimes they never committed. How many people are we gonna rewire their brains before we realize we fucked up, and half those people never should have been touched in the first place?
Probably depends on the state.
Instead of trying to figure out how to punish somebody, maybe we should figure out what is going on.
Nothing I have suggested.
Fix the problem and not the fucking symptom.
Right, and nothing I've suggested was in the context of punishment. Resequencing is not.
Reprogramming somebody's brain is a punishment.
Well, I'm sorry.
Because you're taking away their personality.
That was not the intention of the idea of the proposal. It simply wasn't.
That's what's going to end up happening.
That was simply not. Well, that may be how other people view it or take it, but it's not what was intended.
Might not be what was intended, but that's how it's going to end up being.
Well, then it shouldn't proceed.
Well, there you go. Bad idea. You decided that it probably shouldn't happen.
No, if it's going to be taken as punishment, no, it's not the point. I'm not interested in punishment. Doesn't get anyone anything anywhere. You can punish me as much as you like, and all it's going to do is make me more defiant. That history has shown this over and over and over again. And I can't be alone. There must be thousands, millions of other people that have the exact same attitude about punishment. So, I mean, you're gonna have to win some kind of philosophical argument in my head to show that I'm wrong about something in order to get me to correct my own behavior. If you can do that, then yes, I will most definitely correct my own behavior, as I did when I was growing up. But but in no sense did punishment ever work, and you just have to go to my parents to figure that out. I mean, I would take being grounded, I would endure all kinds of shit. just you know, and then get even afterwards or whatever. Respond however I was empowered to respond as a child, which wasn't very much maybe, but I could be pretty creative.
The discouragement of engaging in aggressive acts with
Anyway, it was just an idea.
is undesirable, and measures will be taken to restore peaceful operations.
Wonder if they're gonna do it though. In the interest of costs. We need to do something with the correction system. It's very expensive and it doesn't really work very well. But I don't really have any magic solution.
Pilots were respectively asked to alight on their own docking pad on
You let me know if you come up with one.
access to other docking bay areas.
Well, the British had a bright idea back in the day. Take all the prisoners and ship them across the ocean. Instead of shipping them across the ocean nowadays, let's ship them to Mars. They can be the first residents of Mars and be the ones to terraform it.
There are some problems with that. Australia is on Earth, and as a result, I mean, it was inhabited by other people, but I mean, it's on Earth, right? Mars is gravitationally weaker than Earth. We're not sure if that's going to be very healthy. There's a hell of a lot more radiation to contend with at the moment. We might be able to...
Well, it doesn't matter. They can be the first guinea pigs to survive Mars and terraform it, so the rest of us can go there.
Well, I think we have some guinea pigs for neural resequencing as well, if you want to take that approach.
My proposal is as absurd as your proposal.
No, mine was more absurd. Yours is more expensive. Shipping them.
Well, here, look at it this way. I'm not reprogramming these people. I'm just saying, here you go. You're going to Mars, and you're going to be the ones to terraform it. You're going to be paying your debt to society by making a new planet for us to live on.
That's right. By making a new society. In a fucking hostile environment. It's like Antarctica, except there's no oxygen. and
it's red instead of white.
And you see nothing but sand your whole fucking life. Jesus, could you imagine? Like, there are people that want to go live on Mars, and I'm just like, have you really thought this through? Like, you can go to Antarctica and still have oxygen to breathe here on Earth if you really want someplace that's remote and far away from everything, and you know, we have to spend several $1,000s to go, and actually Antarctica is cheaper than Mars still. I can't say that it'll remain so forever if Elon Musk gets his way. I mean, there'll be a few people who will, yes, they'll want to go live on Mars and help terraform it, but it's going to take, you know, centuries before Mars resembles anything approaching, you know, never mind Earth. It won't even be green. You won't be able to sustain plants on Mars probably for centuries. It'll start off with being single-celled creatures once you warm it up enough. Creatures that can exist in a thicker carbon dioxide, hydrocarbon-induced atmosphere. But there's apparently enough water on Mars to grow an ocean that's about 80 feet deep. Around the northern, well, probably get a name like the Northern Ocean or something at first, because it'll cover the whole north side of the planet. But
an awful lot of water we have to haul there.
Oh, we don't have to haul any. It's all there. They've already measured it. You know, Earth doesn't even have the most water in the solar system. The body that has the most water is Europa, orbiting Jupiter. It has about 6 times the amount of water that Earth does.
Pilots are warmly sandwiched in
Isn't
advance,
that fucked up?
keeping
Like a
the
moon
local
that's just
air
basically all
and
ocean,
structures.
covered in ice, and it's got about a 5 kilometer thick crust at the poles, and it thickens out to about 15 kilometers at the equator due to, probably spin force or tidal forces or whatever. But 15 to 30 at the center, as narrow as 5 kilometers at the poles, the north and south pole. And the rest of the planet internally is water, down to a solid
The
rock crust
discouraging of engaging
deep
in
beneath.
aggressive acts within or around the
They think there's
station
probably, if there's
for
any other
design
life in the solar
may just
system,
be a
multicellular life, it's
peaceful
probably on that moon.
operations.
Because the water will absorb the radiation, and you'll be able to you get deep enough, there won't be any radiation, so which is amazing when you consider how much radiation is put out by Jupiter and the sun combined. And there's no atmosphere to protect the planet from radiation at all.
Visitors are welcome to warmly to this facility and to Imperial Sovereign Territory, where
But
excellence
luckily, water
stays
has that property. It will absorb radiation nicely. I keep wondering what they're going to do with the science, the new science that they've discovered about bodies, celestial bodies in the solar system, and planets potentially in other star systems, and if they're going to incorporate that data into Elite at any point. They
already do.
They put the TRAPPIST system in here. Yeah, but Alpha Centauri has Proxima Centauri has a planet orbiting it. And if I just go to my galaxy map right now, I know I've been to Alpha Centauri. Let's just have a look here. It wasn't what I expected to find. There's Sol. Okay. Where's Alpha Centauri? There's Sirius. 61 Cygni. Where the hell did they put Alpha Centauri? It's supposed to be close to the sun. Ah, there it is. Alpha Centauri. Okay, so Proxima Centauri. Yes, okay. Now there's one planet here. You're right. Called Eden. It's a hot super Earth in this game. I don't think they know much about the size of it at this point. Though the data that I saw projected a gas giant. This is a world with 2.21329 atmospheres. Iron magma, volcanism, solid surface, atmosphere, water. High metal content world with metallic core, water atmosphere. Now, if we go online and have a quick peek at Wikipedia to see what it says about the planet, what does it tell us? Anyways, not all the data is always accurate in the game. I know they update some stuff, but not necessarily everything. Alpha Centauri. Nearby star system. The closest star system to the Sun, 4.37 light years from the Sun. Triple star system containing 3 stars: Centauri A, Centauri B, and Centauri C, or Proxima. A and B are sun-like G and K stars, together forming a binary pair. They orbit one another around a barycenter, and then Proxima is off in the side, which is correct and is accurately mapped in here. Alpha Centauri's triple star system, A and B components, blah blah blah. Okay. Only one planet has been confirmed in the Alpha Centauri system, Proxima Centauri B, also called Eden. It is slightly larger than Earth and orbits around Proxima Centauri, the habitable zone. So there you go. Existence of Proxima Centauri was announced in 2016 by the European Southern Observatory. It was found using radial velocity or Doppler shifts, blah 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 blah. Okay, so it's accurate. System is mapped according to the latest data. There is a hypothetical planet. Would you like to live on a hypothetical planet?
Is that kind of like your hypothetical girlfriend?
Additional planets may exist, either orbiting Centauri A or Centauri B individually, or in large orbits around both stars. Because both stars are similar to the Sun, astronomers have been especially interested in making detailed searches for planets in the Alpha Centauri system. Several established planet hunting teams have used various radial velocity or star transit methods in their searches around these two bright stars. All observational studies so far have failed to find evidence for brown dwarfs or gas giants. Not to say they don't exist, though. Current estimates place probability finding additional Earth-like planet around Alpha Centauri at approximately 85%. So B, they've ruled out planets larger than 4 Earth masses. There is a debris disk around the binary star system, indicating likelihood of additional planets. The sky from Alpha Centauri would appear much as it does from the Earth, except that the Centaurus would be missing as the brightest star. The Sun would appear as a yellow star, parent magnitude 0.5, roughly the same average brightness of Betelgeuse from Earth. It would be the antipodal point of Alpha Centauri's AB right ascension and declination at 0 hours, 29 minutes, 35 seconds, 60 degrees, 50 minutes declination, J2000 in eastern Cassiopeia, easily outshining the rest of the stars in the constellation. With the placement of the Sun east of the 3.5 magnitude star Cassiopeia, it would nearly be as in front of the Heart and Soul Nebula, and the west of Cassiopeia would appear as a W with an extra point shape. The winter triangle would have a very different appearance, Procyon outshining Pollux in the middle of Gemini and Sirius, lying less than a degree from Betelgeuse and Orion. With a magnitude of -1.2, Sirius would be a little fainter than from Earth, but it would still be the brightest star in the night sky. Both Vega and Altair would be shifted northeastward towards relative to Deneb, giving the summer triangle a more equilateral appearance. Alpha Centauri is inside the G cloud. The nearest known system is a binary dwarf star called Lumen 16, 3.6 light years away. All true, and reflected in our map. My God, they have a picture here of Cassiopeia as seen in the sky of a planet. Well, Proxima Centauri b, probably. And I don't know what to tell you. Our sun is brighter than brighter than the stars in Cassiopeia, which is a fairly bright nighttime constellation, winter constellation. Alpha Centauri's likely target for a manned or unmanned interstellar exploration using current spacecraft technologies. Crossing the distance between the Sun and Alpha Centauri would take several millennia, though the possibility of nuclear pulse propulsion, laser light sail technology, as considered in Breakthrough Starshot, could reduce a journey time to mere decades. An objective of such a mission would make a flyby out and possibly photograph planets that might exist in the system. The existence of Proxima Centauri b, announced by European Southern Observatory in August 2016, would be a target for the Starshot program. In January 2017, Breakthrough Initiatives and the ESO entered a collaboration to search for habitable planets in the Alpha Centauri system. Agreement involves Breakthrough Initiatives providing funding for an upgrade to the Vizier VLT Large Imager and Spectrometer for Mid-Infrared Instrument on ESO's VLT in Chile, the Very Large Telescope. This upgrade will greatly increase the likelihood of planet detection in the system. First attempt at judging the distance between Earth and Alpha Centauri's star system was in 1839 by an astronomer named Henderson, who estimated the distance to be just 2.57 light years. By 1842, that number had gone up, same astronomer, to 3.34 light years, and had an margin of error plus or minus 0.5, which is within the actual distance is within the margin of error. So we've known how far away Alpha Centauri is effectively since 1842. It was well before we discovered galaxies. Okay. We're not going to Alpha Centauri right now.
Free from stationary obstructions at all times.
What was I doing here? Oh yeah, I was getting equipment. And from here, we have to go to 61 Cygni. No. Hello. Oh, 61 Virginis. Correct. Course plot complete.
This is your captain. Due to some unforeseen delays, we will be arriving at our next destination later than scheduled. Really? That interdiction by pirates delayed you? Imagine that. Wow. Some captain's completely stupid.
Yeah, due to unforeseen delays.
Due to being interdicted by a fucking pirate, we will not be arriving at our destination as planned. Grab the oh shit handles and pray to your preferred religious deity while we try to save our own asses. We will jettison you and the rest of the passengers into the void of space, if need be.
Yes, while the crew and the captain and crew bravely go down with the ship, being blown to smithereens. I would never fly in this galaxy without an escape pod being handy.
Well, I'm just magically transported back to the station. I don't need a life pod.
Oh, there we go. I'm outfitting my ship now. Did you hear anything more about that graffiti we were looking for on the side of the Shinartra Desra Jameson Memorial Dock?
Try using your night vision goggles.
No, because the means I was using to travel around the base, like I didn't use the ship, I used the I just used the camera.
I think you need to search the outside of the station, not the inside.
The outside of the station?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just checking around the base of the inside of the communications tower.
I know.
I guess I should go around the outside of the station now that you mention it. So now we have some new weapons we might need. Yeah, let's try that one. Transfer the ship. Transfer! I got some beam lasers. Yay! I have no engineers that can upgrade beam lasers, however, so... Transfer...
It's just, shit's amazing.
Hey?
That's just the shits for you, then.
It is the shit for me. I am, however, about to get an engineer who will be able to upgrade my armor, which I haven't had before. So I will have enhanced armor now. Okay.
Still won't be able to hold your own duel against, will you?
I don't think so. Not right away. certainly. I don't know how much enhancement my armor will be able to withstand. That fucking, you know what? That fight I got into, that I took on 3 interdictors. When I got my ship destroyed tonight, I was fighting like multiple interceptors, Thargoid interceptors, because they all pop in at the same time, right? Like you're in a conflict zone, and you start off fighting those stupid little probes, and then they send in the interdictors. Well, so by the time I finally get one after me, there's like 3 of them, and then I try running away, and I've never had an interdictor or an interceptor chase me before. Well, this thing wouldn't let go, and it just kept coming and coming and coming. I couldn't run away from it fast enough before it took down my engines. And yeah, so my engine, so it went with a anti-energy pulse, wiped out all the energy. I had a repair limpet running at the time, so it wasn't able to do much damage, or it didn't do much damage. And then I realized, okay, I'm getting hurt here. It got my shields down to 1 ring, so I ran away. And it never occurred to me, gee, you have a shield cell, maybe you should use that. So anyway, I took off, thinking, because usually that's been enough to get me out of harm's way, but no, this thing starts chasing me. And then it had those things that orbit around it, those little fucking whatever, the schmeglies, and it sent that cloud of shit after me as well. So then I had a cloud of shit and an interceptor after me, and they gradually whittled down my shields. Every time I put the shields back up, they would whittle them down again. And something else unexpected happened. Every time I deployed a decontamination limpet, because the smaller ships kept firing contamination charges at me, so I'd get hit by them, and of course, what ends up happening? But my hull begins to erode. So I start deploying decontamination limpets, and every time I deployed one, it would attach to my ship, and then the interceptor comes along and blows it off. Blows it right off the side of my ship, and it's just like zzz, 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 and it goes off into the distance. And so I used the repair limpets, and the exact same thing happened. I was going, this thing is fucking blowing up my limpets, and I must have used like about 20 limpets just trying to fix my ship. That didn't get me anywhere. And then it finally took my engines down, and I ground to a halt. I tried, a bunch of different tactics to repair my ship, all of which backfired or failed. Tried shooting back at it, tried, everything. Nothing was working, and I had no help. Deployed my fighter a couple times. That didn't help any. It just blew the fighter up. So I eventually, after about 10 or 15 minutes of fighting this fucking thing, I finally succumbed. But I gave it one hell of a lot of I gave it the good old college try.
It sounds very different.
Well, it's all recorded, but it was an interesting fight, to be sure. It was like trying everything and throwing everything out the window, but the kitchen sink at this fucking interceptor just wouldn't leave me alone. And then, of course, once it had me down to 1%, I'm just sitting there going, okay, well, I'm going to take an external snapshot view of my ship being blown up. And I'm just sitting there, dum-da-dum-da-dum-da-dum. And on the last percentile, it didn't shoot right away. It just kind of hovered away. And then the cloud of smaller ships just sits there, and it kind of studies me for a second, and finally fired a pair of red bolts at me out of its center, and that finished me off, and then that was it. But it was like, what the fuck is going on here? And even in these systems that are loaded with a Thargoid presence, you don't get the Thargoids interdicting you anymore. Now they're the only way that you encounter them is if you go into the conflict zones. And you certainly don't find like Marauder class fighter craft by themselves. So you can't just like attack a bunch of these probes that like you used to in the good old days. Now you get about 5 minutes with those, fighting those things. You make about 100,000 in credit bonds, and then suddenly there's interceptors that just start appearing, like out of nowhere, left, right, and center. So there's virtually no hope of winning. They put in several cutter class vessels. At least, well, this is the Empire, so they had Imperial cutters that were like trying to fight these things off, and they didn't seem to be taking very much damage. Like the Thargoids could shoot at them and didn't seem to hurt them any. I wasn't really studying them, but
Yeah, I'm going AFK. I'll be.
okay, we got our pack hound missiles. We are now getting ready for departure to where we're supposed to go next. Launch.
Landing coupler disengaged. You may proceed when ready.
Landing gear retracted.
How the hell did that happen? Well, I regret to inform you that made no sense. Iotahydri.
Frameshift drive charging.
Oh, shit. What am I doing?
I know. I also realized I need 10 units of Paynite, so I now have Void Opals or Paynite that I can go after. Ooh, let's fly through the corona of this star. Because that's always a good time.
Warning, temperature critical.
Except now our ship is melting.
Why are you melting your ship? That was unfortunate.
Oh, there's a cloud of smoke in front of me here. Hang on. And something's on fire. I just like setting my ship on fire every once in a while.
Frameshift drive charging.
I have a bit of an arsonist streak in me here. As long as no one in the Empire finds out, I should be fine.
Well, I'm gonna make sure to let them all know.
Yeah. be incarcerated for setting your own ship on fire from the inside. Must say, your ship, my ship looks like quite the trash heap. As soon as I get into a fight with the Thargoids, it causes serious enough damage. The hull of the ship from the outside looks like it's just been like through the fucking ringer. There's like smashed bits off the ship and stuff. Don't know if it does that on any of the other ships, but the hull looks like it's taking quite a pounding if you're using the Anaconda.
I'll fly my Anacondas that off.
Does your ship look, does the damage like get reflected on your ship at all, or?
I don't look that close. Couldn't tell you.
Wow. Oh, and I figured out how to get my avatar to look like it's walking around and behaving. There's what's it called? There's a face mask utility. So I just have to do a bit of acting on YouTube, and I can make myself, my character, my avatar, look like it's talking. So it appears. Yeah, we're getting freezing rain here, so my cell phone's going to start dinging, echoing warnings to remind you that it's not safe to be taking any vehicle anywhere. Holy shit, flying right into the star. Holer schmoler. No, he's clean. Let's go to Frucala Port. And now we're on the wrong side of the planet because we flew by it while we were targeting it. That is one bright ass sun.
Yeah, I'm getting interdicted again.
Yay! Well, if you don't want to be interdicted, what you need to do is wing up with someone.
What is winging up gonna do?
Well, that's what seemed to work last time. As soon as you and I winged up, there was no more interdictions. It may not make any sense. It does not have to make sense. It's elite. You should know this by now. Oh yeah, I'm in court on Tuesday next week.
Too much cocaine again?
What?
Too much cocaine?
No, too many landlords that haven't got a fucking clue what they're doing. It's one big ass planet.
DeLacy Alpha Alpha Romeo 0. Submit a docking request and a landing pad will be reserved for you, Commander.
This port is being repaired. I may have to go to another port because this one's all damaged. It's got repair scaffolding all over it.
Access granted. Land on pad 09er.
Scan detected. Scan detected. Scan detected.
I thought I had a docking computer here. It doesn't seem to want to dock.
3,000 meters from touchdown.
Of course,
You didn't fix it after the other day when I shot it out.
well, the other problem might be the station's inoperative because it's...
Scan detected.
Yeah, systems are offline, it says all over the fucking place.
Traffic warning. Be on the lookout for other vessels in the area.
Landing gear deployed.
We're in Bay 9.
Do not loiter in this area, Commander. Move away.
And we are docked at Bay 9.
Landing completed. Deploying ground crew.
What do we got here? Fuel. think that's about it. Yeah, this station's all fucking bent to hell.
What'd you do that for?
Oh, I think he did it on... I think the Sargoids are responsible for this.
I think we were going to blame it on Trium and Gus.
You can. It wouldn't be accurate, but life isn't fair, as you say. Let's go to Margulis Station on the planet's surface. What the hell am I even in here for? I don't even remember. I know there's a reason I'm... Oh, no, there's a ship here that I need. That's why I'm here.
Yay, I can collect my 39 million credits.
How joyous for you. We are visiting this unexplored world, orbiting Virginis 6, 61 Virginis 6. Okay, launching again. Yay! And we'll leave the broken station behind. Why everyone is coming here, I don't know, but it's extremely busy. And there is a shitload of fog inside of the space station. Somehow.
Landing gear retracted. Scan detected. Frameshift drive charging.
Heading for the target moon. Passing fairly close to this extremely bright sun that's shining through my Oculus and blinding me. En route, we'll be passing by the moon called Rubin's Discovery. Rubin. No idea who the hell that was, but it's his discovery, and that's all we know. You don't want to know about Ross's discovery. Sorry, Trium's discovery. Trium's discovery is disturbing.
I'm gonna go time to say fucking go to bed. Well, see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
flight engaged.
Lacey, Alpha Romeo Zero. You're very welcome to this station, Commander. Priority access will be granted upon request. Request denied. You're out of range. Resubmit at 7.5 kilometers. Okay, Commander. You are go for approach to pad 07. You are go for automated docking. Enjoy the ride, Commander.
Alright everyone, we're at Shepard Arsenal on the last planet of 61 Virginis. It's 7/17/19 Zulu on 30th March 3305. Second last day of March. April Fool's Day is just around the corner. But it's no deception that we are likely to stick around throughout the weekend. So check back here both this weekend and regularly for additional videos. Thank you again for watching, and as always, take care of yourselves. Have yourselves a good night and fly safe, Commander. Good night.